In September 2007, 5-year-old Tyler James Bennett from Phoenix, Arizona, woke up screaming that he needed to get back to his office on the 86th floor. His mother, Sarah Bennett, found him crying in his bedroom, frantically talking about being late for a meeting with clients from Tokyo. Tyler had never been to New York City. He had never seen the inside of an office building. Yet somehow, this kindergarten student was describing a life that belonged to someone else entirely. Sarah Bennett, a 29-year-old nurse at Phoenix Children's Hospital, initially thought Tyler was having vivid dreams from watching too much television. His father, Mark Bennett, 32, worked as a mechanic at Sky Harbor Airport and assumed their son had overheard conversations about planes. But Tyler's nightmares weren't about crashes or accidents. They were about being trapped in a burning tower, making desperate phone calls, and the horrible realization that there was no way out. Tyler had been born in March 2002, 6 months after September 11, 2001. The Bennett family had no connection to New York City, no relatives who worked in Manhattan, and no reason for their son to know anything about the World Trade Center attacks. Mark and Sarah had deliberately avoided discussing the tragedy in front of Tyler, wanting to protect their young son from such disturbing events. They had no books, magazines, or documentaries about 9/11 in their home. Tyler attended Desert View Elementary School, where teachers focused on age-appropriate curriculum that never mentioned terrorism or tragic events. The nightmares began on September 11, 2007, exactly 6 years after the attacks. Tyler woke up at 3:47 a.m., the same time the first plane had struck the North Tower. He was screaming about smoke filling the hallways and people running toward the stairwells. He kept repeating that he needed to call his wife Rachel to tell her he loved her. Sarah and Mark had never heard Tyler mention anyone named Rachel. When they asked who she was, Tyler became frustrated and insisted they knew his wife, that she was waiting for him at home with their baby daughter. The concerned parents tried to comfort Tyler, assuming he had confused a dream with reality. But the next night brought even more disturbing details. Tyler described taking the elevator to the 86th floor every morning, walking through glass doors into an office with windows facing the Hudson River. He talked about his desk near the corner, his computer with important financial documents, and his coffee mug with a picture of the Statue of Liberty. He mentioned colleagues by name: David, who sat next to him, Jennifer, the receptionist who always smiled, and Mr. Patterson, his boss who wore expensive suits and spoke with a slight accent. Tyler's descriptions were far too sophisticated for a 5-year-old's imagination. He used business terminology that no kindergarten student should know. He talked about quarterly reports, client presentations, and stock market fluctuations. When Sarah asked where he learned these words, Tyler looked at her with confusion and said he used them every day at work. The family pediatrician, Dr. Maria Rodriguez, had been treating Tyler since birth and knew him as a healthy, well-adjusted child with no history of psychological issues. When Sarah and Mark brought Tyler in for an emergency consultation in late September 2007, Dr. Rodriguez was puzzled by the boy's sudden behavioral change. Tyler sat quietly during the examination, but when Dr. Rodriguez asked about his dreams, he began describing his morning routine of taking the subway to work, buying coffee from the vendor in the lobby, and riding the elevator to his office. Dr. Rodriguez had never encountered a case like Tyler's. She referred the family to Dr. Catherine Walsh, a child psychologist at Phoenix Children's Hospital who specialized in trauma and unusual behavioral patterns. Dr. Walsh had been practicing for 18 years and had treated children with various anxiety disorders. But Tyler's case was unlike anything in her experience. During their first session in October 2007, Tyler drew pictures with remarkable detail for a 5-year-old. His drawings showed tall buildings with many floors, people in business suits, and planes approaching from the sky. When Dr. Walsh asked about the pictures, Tyler explained that he was showing her where he used to work before he became a little boy. He said he remembered everything about his old life, especially the morning when everything went wrong. Dr. Walsh decided to investigate Tyler's claims more systematically. She asked him specific questions about his alleged former life, without providing any leading information. Tyler consistently described working for a financial services company on the 86th floor of the North Tower. He mentioned specific details about the building's layout, the elevator system, and the view from his office windows. Most significantly, Tyler insisted his name had been Michael David Chun and that he was 34 years old when he died. He described being married to Rachel Chun and having a 2-year-old daughter named Emma. Tyler became emotional when talking about his family, saying he missed them terribly and worried they were sad without him. He drew pictures of a woman with long dark hair and a toddler with pigtails, claiming they were his wife and daughter from his previous life. Dr. Walsh was skeptical, but intrigued by Tyler's consistency and emotional authenticity. She decided to research whether anyone matching Tyler's description had actually worked in the World Trade Center. Using victim databases and memorial websites, she discovered that Michael David Chun, age 34, had indeed been employed by Cantor Fitzgerald on the 101st floor of the North Tower. However, Tyler had consistently claimed to work on the 86th floor, not the 101st Drive. Walsh initially dismissed this as evidence against Tyler's claims, but further investigation revealed something remarkable. Michael Chun had been attending a breakfast meeting on the 86th floor with clients from a Tokyo-based investment firm on the morning of September 11th. The meeting was scheduled for 8:30 a.m. in the conference room of another financial services company. This detail had never been widely publicized and appeared only in a few detailed victim profiles that weren't easily accessible online. Tyler had provided information that matched Michael Chun's exact location at the time of the attacks. The research uncovered more disturbing parallels. Michael Chun had indeed been married to Rachel Chun, and they had a 2-year-old daughter named Emma. Rachel had been interviewed by several newspapers in 2002, describing her husband as a dedicated father who called her every morning from his office to say he loved her. On September 11th, Michael had called Rachel at 9:12 a.m., just minutes before the North Tower collapsed. According to Rachel's testimony, Michael had told her he was trapped and that he loved her and Emma more than anything in the world. Tyler's nightmares consistently featured him trying to make phone calls to tell his wife he loved her. Dr. Walsh arranged for Tyler to view photographs of Michael Chun without telling him who the person was. When shown a picture of Michael at his wedding, Tyler immediately said, "That's me when I was big." When shown a photo of Rachel Chun, Tyler began crying and said he missed his wife. Most remarkably, when shown a picture of 2-year-old Emma Chun, Tyler said, "That's my baby. I hope she remembers her daddy." The emotional authenticity of Tyler's responses convinced Dr. Walsh that he genuinely believed these memories were his own. She began documenting every detail Tyler provided, comparing them against published accounts of Michael Chun's life and death. Tyler accurately described Michael's daily routine, his favorite restaurants near the World Trade Center, and even his habit of buying flowers for Rachel every Friday evening. In November 2007, Dr. Walsh made a controversial decision. With the Bennett family's permission, she contacted Rachel Chun, who was now Rachel Martinez, after remarrying in 2005. Rachel lived in New Jersey with her new husband and her daughter Emma, who was now 8 years old. Dr. Walsh explained that she was studying a child who claimed to have memories of being Michael Chun. Rachel's initial reaction was skepticism and concern. She had worked hard to help Emma heal from losing her father and didn't want anyone exploiting their tragedy. However, Dr. Walsh's professional credentials and careful approach convinced Rachel to participate in a limited phone conversation. During the call, Tyler spoke with unusual formality for a 5-year-old. He asked Rachel if she still lived in their apartment in Queens and whether she had kept his watch collection. Rachel gasped audibly. Michael had indeed collected vintage watches, and Rachel had kept them in a special box after his death. This detail had never been mentioned in any published interviews or public records. Tyler then asked about Emma's piano lessons and whether she still played the song he had taught her. Rachel began crying. Michael had been teaching Emma a simple melody on their toy piano just days before September 11th. Emma had continued playing that song for months after her father's death, but Rachel had never discussed this with anyone outside their immediate family. The phone conversation convinced Rachel that something extraordinary was happening. She agreed to meet Tyler and his family, though she remained uncertain about what to expect. The meeting was arranged for December 2007 at a neutral location in Phoenix, where Rachel was visiting her sister for the holidays. When Tyler saw Rachel, his reaction was immediate and intense. He ran to her and hugged her legs, crying and saying he had missed her so much. Rachel was overwhelmed by the child's emotional response and his uncanny resemblance to Michael's mannerisms. Tyler spoke to Rachel with an intimacy that seemed impossible for a 5-year-old to fabricate. During their meeting, Tyler provided details about Michael and Rachel's relationship that had never been shared publicly. He mentioned their first date at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, their weekend trips to the beach, and inside jokes that only the couple had shared. Rachel later confirmed that every detail Tyler mentioned was accurate, including private moments and conversations that no one else could have known about. The most emotional moment came when Tyler drew a picture for Rachel. The drawing showed a man, woman, and little girl holding hands under a rainbow. Tyler wrote, "I love you" in his childish handwriting and signed it Daddy Michael. Rachel kept the drawing and later said it provided her with a sense of closure she hadn't experienced since Michael's death. However, skeptics questioned the validity of Tyler's memories. Dr. James Morrison, a cognitive psychologist from Arizona State University, suggested that Tyler might have absorbed information about Michael Chun through media coverage or internet searches that his parents weren't aware of. He argued that children's developing brains could create false memories that felt completely real to the child experiencing them. Others proposed that Tyler's parents might have unconsciously provided information through conversations or emotional cues that influenced his memories. Some critics suggested that Dr. Walsh's research methods might have inadvertently contaminated Tyler's responses through leading questions or confirmation bias. The case gained media attention when Rachel Martinez decided to share her experience publicly. She appeared on several television programs, describing her meeting with Tyler and her belief that he possessed genuine memories of being her deceased husband. The story sparked intense debate about consciousness, memory, and the possibility of life after death. As Tyler grew older, his memories of being Michael Chun began to fade. By age 7, he rarely mentioned his previous life and seemed more focused on typical childhood activities. Dr. Walsh noted this pattern was consistent with other documented cases of childhood past life memories, which typically diminish as children develop stronger present life identities. The scientific community remained divided on Tyler's case. Supporters argued that his specific knowledge of private details and his emotional authenticity provided compelling evidence for reincarnation. Critics maintained that conventional explanations involving cryptomnesia, suggestion, or coincidence were more plausible than accepting the existence of consciousness surviving death and inhabiting a new body. Dr. Walsh published her findings in 2010, presenting Tyler's case as one of the most well-documented examples of claimed past life memories in children. Her paper included testimony from multiple witnesses, verification of private details, and psychological evaluations that ruled out deliberate deception or major mental illness. However, she acknowledged that the case raised more questions than it answered about the nature of consciousness and memory. Tyler Bennett, now 22 years old, has largely moved on from his childhood experiences. He works as a computer programmer in Phoenix and rarely discusses his early memories of being Michael Chun. When asked directly, he maintains that his memories felt completely real at the time, but acknowledges that he cannot fully explain their origin or meaning. He has developed a phobia of tall buildings and refuses to work in office towers, though he cannot articulate why these environments make him uncomfortable. Rachel Martinez continues to believe that Tyler somehow retained memories of her first husband's life. She maintains contact with the Bennett family and considers Tyler's experience a gift that helped her process her grief and find peace with Michael's death. The case continues to challenge conventional understanding of consciousness and memory, leaving fundamental questions about the nature of human experience unanswered. Whether Tyler Bennett truly remembered a previous life as Michael Chun or experienced some other form of anomalous memory phenomenon remains a mystery that science cannot yet definitively resolve.